here with Johnathan Dudley, who for the past 15 years has been the National Head of Manufacturing at Crowe, but is now stepping down from that role. John, you're highly respected across the UK manufacturing community, and you've got an inbuilt passion for manufacturing businesses. And I'm really interested to know, where's that passion come from?
From a very early age, I was fortunate or unfortunate enough to work on the shop floor in my own father's factory. And interesting enough, he used to give me the dangerous stuff that he didn't like giving his workers. So I was working there, my mother never knew this, so it was fine. He was a electrochemist, electroplater, and the way we worked is we were plating lots and lots of bits, and there was a natural sort of interest in what the heck those bits did. One thing, for example, we plated what we called rockets. They were actually soil spears, and they were the soil spears that a rotary clothes dryer used to sort of have driven. They're plastic these days, but back in the 1970s they were steel. But they looked like rockets, and you didn't need to go to the gym with about 12 of those on each arm. So that was great, just sort of wondering what on earth all these weird and wonderful bits were and why they needed a particular plate on them or what have you. So I learned a lot about that. And I also had, the way that plating worked would be that we would send a van around the various manufacturing businesses, and we would collect whatever the production had been. So therefore, from a very early age, still being a school child, working there in holidays, I got to see how stuff got made about, particularly Birmingham, the West Midlands, the city of 1,000 trades. And whether it was jewellery, because we did a bit of sort of EPNS and gilt work, or whether it was a component for a motor vehicle. We used to chrome plate bumpers for MG cars, for example. And that really gave me a passion to understand. And my father always said to me, look, if you're going to become an accountant, that's absolutely fine, but just remember, we can't all make sandwiches and sell each other sandwiches and be accountants or lawyers. Actually, as an island nation, we have to add value, we have to create stuff.
That getting hands-on with family involved as well, that I can see passion. That's where passion comes from, actually seeing things and the impact things can have. So over the course of time, what achievements do you think you are most proud of?
Well, I'd love to say that the high publicity I got for fighting the cause of the JLR supply chain late last year was a success. It was a success in terms of being high profile. I regret, the government never did anything about it, and maybe we will sort of reap what was sown there. But one of the most significant things that we ever did, I think, was during COVID, we got a high level of influence on the coronavirus recovery loan scheme, CBILS, and actually getting that properly deployed. Including actually suggesting to a government official in the morning that actually it might be a good idea to suspend the Insolvency Act, and the Chancellor then promptly did it that afternoon. That was scary, but that then started to get the money away to help businesses. But we've helped business groups grow. We've helped them sell to big, internationals. We've played a role as Crowe of helping people sort of turn businesses round and generate real value.
What I've seen is that your general approach, sometimes your approach can seem left of field. You're not following what everyone else is thinking, and because of that brings creativity. And it challenges the thinking, and that together with a passion for the sector just shows that you're in it to help people. Okay, we're in business to make money, but your drive is to help businesses and help people who are running those businesses.
But I don't believe that in any sector, let alone manufacturing, if you can demonstrate value and you can meet people's needs, I don't believe that anyone worries about you making money, because in you making money, they're making money too.
Yeah,
Somebody once said to me, you know what, I use you because you've got that passion, you've got that drive. If you turned up looking slovenly in a knackered old car that wasn't a British car, by the way, I wouldn't use you, because why would you not? Why would you get advice from somebody who isn't successful themselves?
And that's a very good point. Thinking more widely about the UK manufacturing sector, what shifts in UK manufacturing do you think have been most significant?
Well, there's certainly been a shift from internal combustion engines, pure industrial internal combustion engines, to EVs or plug-in hybrid EVs, and that is a change in process that's going to continue on now for several years. And that actually is a fundamental change, because out of the automotive supply chain also are part and parcel of a number of other supply chains too. So if, the seat manufacturer for a motor car is actually a tube manipulation and welding business in a weird way. So they also supply, anywhere where there is a seat, but, they'll also make other structures. I'm looking here at these cameras and these stanchions. They're all tripods. They're all manipulated tube, for example. So the significant point that relates to that is an internal combustion engine motor car has thousands and thousands of components. An electric vehicle only has a few hundred.
Okay.
So that there is an ongoing challenge for the supply chain to, British manufacturing supply chain to continue to add that value and diversify away from just being in that automotive supply chain. And we've helped a number of businesses do that, and I'm quite proud about that. We've got a client who transitioned from being predominantly low value pressings into the automotive supply chain into manufacturing tube components, direct finished goods, high precision engineered parts, for a variety of industries, from nuclear to domestic.
Yeah, that diversification is fundamental to future health and well-being of a business. It's really important. So where have you seen in your years working in the firm, and you as we said, you've been in manufacturing for many, many years, but where have you seen the firm at its best supporting manufacturing clients?
I think we've been at our best where we have sat down with clients and say, you make widgets, where do you want to take this business making widgets? Where are your, it's back to my thrival thing, isn't it? So where are your resiliencies? Where are your opportunities? Where are your exposures? And where are your risks? If you know what those are, you can maximize the good ones, minimize the bad ones. And that actually can then set out, where do you want to take this business? How do you do that in a safe way? And we've been really, really successful in taking relatively small businesses into a position where they've diversified what they've done, got rid of stuff that they shouldn't be doing, and growing to a level where they've created sort of a real powerhouse. And that is where I think the firm has really starred in being part and parcel of that journey. And yes, along the way, there's corporate finance to do, there's tax and R&D claims to do. But I always think those are the things that are dragged along behind being in there, facilitating a client, defining what their safe and secure strategy is for growth.
Yeah. So it's listening to them, supporting them, working with them, and together growing. We can support with the things we can support with, but it's really them saying this is the direction we're going in. Sometimes they need support with that, and it's being with them on that journey is really important. So as we go through into 2026, what do you see as the highlight, the main issues that you're seeing manufacturers being challenged with, needing to be aware of? What should they be looking at?
I think the big challenge at the moment, bearing in mind as we sit here with world events, it's about restoring sufficient confidence for businesses to plan, to practice the art of thrival, and to be able to get past a tactical plan to a strategic plan, to not be in the position where they're just worried about how the hell am I going to pay the salaries next month, to actually how am I going to grow forward, how am I going to diversify, to embrace some of the promised spending that clearly with the work where the world is, we need to make in defence supply chains. And how can I do that in a way that, you know, protects the livelihoods, not just of the owners of the business, but also they are the custodians. If they've got 100 people working for them, most manufacturing businesses really, really hold that responsibility of their 100 workers very, very, very heavy. And if we can play a part in that, I mean, a few years back, I did what we called a waste reduction program with a factory, and nobody I was doing the work with knew that if we weren't successful, there was 400 jobs on the line.
Right.
The good news is we were successful, and that business still sort of thrives today. That's the sort of thing that people need to be thinking about, and having the resilience that when these sort of side winds blow at you, whether it is a cyber attack shut down in your big customer, whether it's the Strait of Hormuz being closed and the fuel price going through the sky, it's to be able to be resilient enough to ride those punches and still be there afterwards, because there's nothing new in there being challenges within manufacturing, and therefore it's just the articulation, I would say, of what we're seeing now is pretty unprecedented maybe. But what has always happened is for the businesses that come out on the other side and survive, there's a lot of money to be made, and then they need us to help them keep that money.
That's really useful. Thank you. I think in the time that I've seen things in the manufacturing sector, I think what I've experienced is the genuine sort of community feel amongst many manufacturers. I remember being at an event where there was talk of, we're in this together, guys. We're working together. We are a community. We'll win together, not perhaps as much as we'd like to win, but we're going to win together, not one win, another lose. And that's a real, I think that's a really good heart of the manufacturing community.
And do you know, I don't think that's always been there. Traditionally, within a manufacturing business, manufacturers have always been very, very reclusive. They've seen as collaborating is, if you like, eating with the enemy, if you know what I mean. But in the modern era, there's much more of a collaborative approach of actually, we were at that manufacturer only a couple of weeks ago, and there were a number of them saying, well, I'm looking at what they're doing here, they're importing this and they're importing that. Well, we can manufacture this, you can manufacture that. Well, why couldn't we get together and put a consortium and say, you know, why couldn't you reshore what you're doing? And that's actively happening now. That's really exciting stuff to be involved in, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It's fantastic.
So I know that you're really excited to be the successor to me, and I know you're going to be a huge success.
Okay.
So what I'd like to ask you is, what are the first things you're going to do to keep the impetus, to maximise the impact of Crowe actually continuing to be the manufacturer's choice as the manufacturer's accountant?
I think there's some key things I am focused on. In no particular order, I want to make sure that our connections with our contacts in the community, the introducer community, are strong, and continuing the relationships that you've built up with them, that we continue those strong relationships. And it's not just about meeting people for coffee, it's about building relationships. The second thing I want to do is to empower, encourage our teams in Crowe across the country to really get a grip of and get a heart for their community, their manufacturing community. And part of that, and a significant part of that, is getting to know the businesses. Having factory tours, I found it really exciting how businesses enjoy welcoming you onto their premises to show you what they can do. And they do that because they've got a passion for showing you things moving. And it's really exciting seeing things moving and doing stuff. And I can ask questions.
You can't beat a 5-axis tube bending machine. Just can't. You could set it to music, in my view.
But you could do that. You could have an opera playing with the. I've seen one already. You can see things moving, and wow, that's exciting. But I think it's the getting to the heart of why their businesses are in business. I want to do that more and more. I want to listen to them, and I want to bring in all the good stuff that we at Crowe can do. And it's things that it isn't necessarily my skill set, but we've got people around the firm who can really get involved and help and listen and work with businesses. And we at Crowe can bring in our services to support their businesses on their journey. So I'm really excited with those things, getting closer with the introducer community, empowering and building up our own teams, and also connecting significantly with businesses in manufacturing and listening to them, and really getting closer to them and hearing more about what their dreams and desires are and how we can help.
And that's interesting. Dreams and desires is all about passion, isn't it?
It is.
And manufacturers, whether they're making wine in Kent,
yes,
or whether they're making minis in Swindon, or whether they're making Jaguars in Birmingham,
or clotted cream in Cornwall,
you know, people have a passion for what they are creating, the value they're adding, and therefore, if we can actually add to that passion and unleash that passion, then we're actually doing a great job for the client, the manufacturing industry, our country, our exports, and to be fair, for Crowe, because we are being part of something exciting.
It is exciting, and manufacturing is still a significant sector for the UK economy.
Can't do without it.
No, it's fundamental. So I'm excited about the future. The future is bright. That's all.
It's not orange.
It's not orange, no. It's Crowe.